it would be, you have not listened to me. You have not listened to my warning. And what you are doing is cheapening the entire royal family.
Absolutely. Harry is a disgrace, and it just shows how much he is not really committed to the authenticity of the work of the monarchy. I mean, this man is not adhering to any of the expectations of his grandmother. I'm just so surprised and shocked that the king hasn't done more to make sure that this doesn't happen. I mean, he's going against all the things that the Queen did not want to happen. I mean, he is doing things here in the UK, like I said, sporadically, not really committed to any of this work, and then going back to California, still trying to get deals and to make money that way, and going behind the Queen's back with a half in and half out, work.
And we know what this message is about, though. We know what it is about. It is about trying to show to the world that he can do the royal shtick better than Prince William. Now, I don't feel he's actually proven that this week. I mean, look at some of this footage of William and Catherine, or that they posted of their engagement yesterday, which clashed. And actually, I would argue that they did much better.
Yeah, so, this is the thing that I've always thought about William. His engagements seem so much more engaged and thought-provoking to what the actual mission is for this organization that he is visiting, whatever organization he is visiting. He just has his intentions seem so much more caring, thought-provoking, and he shows up all the time. He lives there. He's always available to be around and to support these organizations. And on the other hand, Harry is someone who just pops in every few years. I mean, he's not someone that is really committed.
Piers Morgan asks, what have we learned from Harry's trip to the UK? And says, nobody gives a shit. And he adds, Prince Harry giving £1.1 million to charity on his UK charm offensive is a comically crude attempt to buy back British people's support, but ironically it won't work because he's spent years being so offensive about the royal family, and I agree. But remember, there are so many questions about this donation from Salty Duchess. Where is the proof he donated, or has he pledged to donate? Where did he get the money? Was it from the earnings, or slagging off his family to anyone who would listen for the past 6 years for cash? He is a greasy PR stunt weasel. And according to Taz, believes that this donation makes much more sense once she realised that, of course, Catherine had previously been part of Children in Need. The Royal News Network wrote, so I guess Prince Harry is throwing money at his problems. They didn't make any reference to all of the dodgy questions about why this donation is being announced now. Like Chris Shipp from Woke ITV News, who, remember, has been a propagandist for Harry and Meghan for a number of years, and this report was pure propaganda.
It is easy to tell when Prince Harry wants to be seen by the cameras. He doesn't race inside, he takes his time and chats in full sight. He does, after all, have connections to this city, Nottingham, which go back many years. In fact, so committed is Harry to the projects here, which help young people who've been impacted by violence and knife crime, he's made a personal donation of £1.1 million.
I've been committed to this work for over a decade, and sadly the urgency today is even greater than when I first began.
He's not switched off on us, he's just kept it real. You see the speech he gave and the passion he had about this city and the love he's got for this place.
And if it wasn't here, that would be a real problem.
Because I'll show you the coverage from Tom Sykes in the Royalist Substack, who says 5 years on, back where he started, Prince Harry looks so happy doing a community-based quasi-royal job in the UK this morning. It raises the question, why did he leave? And speaking of the donation, Tom Sykes writes, while the total sum Harry was due to donate to youth organisations in the UK today is understood to be well north of $1 million, It's peanuts compared to what a working royal might be able to deliver, thanks not just to their fundraising superpowers, but also their ability to influence government policy and spending, compared to which $1 million is, I'm afraid, a drop in the ocean. Further, I predict that Harry's gesture will only serve to irritate his family further, from whom he remains estranged. The public will likely split along predictable lines. He will be praised for his generosity as much as he will be accused of self-serving exercise in hypocrisy. The fact that some of the money he will be donating today could arguably be traced to the proceeds from his memoir Spare, when the reality is barely anyone showed. And certainly at Wellchild, you're dealing with Z-list celebrities. That's where Harry's at now, P. Diner. Even in the United Kingdom, he can't get bigger names to pose alongside him than Kimberly Walsh, former Girls Aloud star, and Peter Andre.
Yeah, to me, it just looks like they're trying to craft a narrative to slowly bring Harry, I think, back into the royal fold. Personally, that's what I believe is happening. It makes no sense. I mean, he doesn't have a voice anymore. There's these subtle little jibes that...
Breaking today, Prince Harry flaunts his family wealth in a latest cringeworthy bid to overshadow his brother Prince William. And at the same time, Meghan Markle finally decides to go public with a bit of support for her estranged husband on Instagram, sharing a pink love heart and this video of Harry, who knows how to perform for the cameras.
That's it. Oh, we got you.
How have you got two of these and you're on like one?
She's got 3 now. She's took one off the one.
Take both.
There you go. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Yep, that's a tabloid video from Hello Magazine. Harry managed to act cool for about 15 seconds, and Meghan has decided that's what should be endorsed. He decided to make his non-relationship with William the headline. We know he did it on purpose because there was this from The Sun. Harry jokes about challenging relationships between siblings. It was during a conversation with Declan Bitmead, a very unwell 17-year-old, and that young teenager replied he had a brother. Harry asked, does he drive you mad? When Declan replied, no, we get on fine, Harry replied, you know what, siblings. Then when he said they went to the same school, Harry said, you're at the same school? That sometimes makes it more challenging. He was so desperate for this Declan to give him a line. He didn't deliver it. But I found actually all of these videos of Harry trying to sort of embrace his inner youth very embarrassing. Watch this.
I've always said for many years that I still have a child inside of me.
Prince Harry's September return to London came with a surprise twist. He didn't stay with family or friends. Instead, the Duke of Sussex checked into the Royal Lancaster Hotel with his charity quietly covering the costs. It says everything, one palisade tells you to Scoop. He could have stayed at a royal residence. He didn't. He booked into a hotel like a visiting executive. Sources confirm his charity handled flights, hotel, and security. This wasn't a luxury vacation, another insider insists. It was business purely tied to the charity. Bottom line, Harry's hotel choice wasn't just logistics, it was symbolism. He's no longer coming home as family, he's coming as a guest on a charity ticket. But I mean, when you look at the hotel, it was luxury. So we know why he got the charity to pay. And here's the reality when it comes to Prince Harry. All of this is media optics. All of this is to try and convince Brits that he is just as popular now as he was then. And then Dinah, Princess Carparkle posted, Meghan Markle posted this incredibly awkward video of Prince Doofus trying to show he knows how to interact with children at the end of this brief balloon sword fight. He does this. I don't even know, is he going to high-five her but changed his mind? Is it some sort of weird bow? Her mother doesn't seem impressed at all. Clearly, Markle thinks it's just the best thing ever since she, who doesn't go on social media, went to Hello Magazine's TikTok account for this clip. Interesting choice all round, and it really was. P. Dinah, what do you make of the donation and the questions around the donation? Why make this donation in December privately and decide to announce it on the visit this week?
Yeah, that's an interesting choice to even mention it. And I can't imagine that this money was donated really from Harry. It seems like they're just crafting a message. I mean, do we know for sure that he made the donation? Is there a record of this?
It sounded like a headline built for applause. Prince Harry donates $1.1 million to British youth charities. Noble, generous, unifying. The kind of royal gesture that makes front pages and earns easy praise. But beneath the polished announcement and glowing media coverage, something didn't sit right. Because this wasn't a moment of spontaneous generosity. It was a move timed, staged, and executed with all the slickness of a Hollywood PR rollout. And the questions started piling up fast. First, why now? The donation reportedly happened in December, but Harry waited until this September, right in the middle of a highly orchestrated UK visit, to announce it. That timing wasn't a coincidence. It was a carefully placed card, played right when he needed it most. After months of bad press, dwindling Netflix influence, Meghan's disappearing act from public life, and rumblings about King Charles's health and succession, Harry needed to shift the spotlight. So he dusted off an old donation and reframed it as headline gold. But was it even his money? That's the part they don't want you to look too closely at. Sources say the donation came through BBC's Children in Need, with vague mentions of match funding and leverage. Translation? It might not have been Harry's money at all, or only partially. Is this a case of recycling existing funds, repackaging charity budgets, or simply pledging rather than paying? No tax records, no official breakdown, no royal household audit, just a few flattering quotes, a smile for the camera, and the illusion of generosity. And then came the next twist, the hotel. While in London for his big charity announcement, Harry didn't stay with his family. He didn't bunk with old friends or crash at a royal residence. He checked into the Royal Lancaster Hotel, a 5-star spot where rooms run up to $1,500 a night. And guess who quietly footed the bill? Not Harry, not Meghan, his own charity, flights, security, hotel, all covered. This wasn't a family visit. This was a PR operation, funded by a nonprofit. In a single headline, Harry managed to play the hero and the victim. He appeared generous without revealing the source of the funds, independent while leaning on charity cash, and royal without the crown. But if you scratch just beneath the surface, the cracks are already showing. Was this really about giving back, or buying back public favor? Because if this were about impact, wouldn't he have said something in December, when youth organizations were scrambling for end-of-year funding? If this was about healing rifts, why deliver the message on a solo trip, timed with William's engagements, and wrapped in Instagram signals from Meghan? And if this was about the people, why the luxury suite? The truth is, this wasn't charity. This was choreography. A staged spectacle designed to make Harry look like the prodigal prince returning with purpose, while dodging the consequences of the damage he's done. And as one palace insider put it, he didn't come home, he came as a guest, on a charity ticket. But that wasn't the only red flag hiding behind the camera flashes, because what came next proved just how desperate this PR strategy had become. If part 1 planted seeds of doubt, this was the moment they exploded into a full-blown scandal. Prince Harry's supposed charity-focused return to the UK wasn't just questionable, it was a case study in how to weaponize optics while quietly dodging substance. Because behind every photo op, behind every carefully crafted speech, behind that $1.1 million figure, was a stunning revelation. Harry's entire visit was bankrolled by his own charity, and that included the most eyebrow-raising expense of all, his 5-star stay at the Royal Lancaster Hotel. For those unfamiliar, this isn't just any hotel. The Royal Lancaster sits on the edge of Hyde Park, glittering with marble interiors, Michelin-caliber dining, and concierge service that screams celebrity-level luxury. The average room, upwards of $600 a night. The suites? You don't even ask the price unless you're royalty, or pretending to be. And Harry didn't just book a quick overnight stay. This was a full-blown royal presentation, staged from within the velvet walls of one of London's most exclusive hotels. But the real shock wasn't where he stayed. It was who paid. Because according to multiple reports, Harry's own charity, yes, the same one used to promote youth well-being and social justice, picked up the tab. Flights, hotel, security. All are categorized under the umbrella of official charity business. Official, as in approved, as in signed off by someone who believed this was justifiable spending, and that someone was likely Harry himself. Let that sink in. While publicly praising the importance of youth programs, while standing on stages talking about poverty and knife crime, Harry was retiring each night to a luxury suite paid for by the very funds donors believed were going to the kids. It wasn't just tone deaf. It was borderline grotesque. What made it worse was the spin that followed. Harry's camp didn't deny the hotel was paid for by charity money, but they framed it as a logistical necessity. Insiders claimed it was purely business, that he needed privacy, protection, comfort, that this wasn't a vacation, it was work. But if that's true, why not stay in one of the dozens of royal residences still technically available to him? Why not accept Prince Charles's security? Or bunk at a friend's private estate? Why not live like someone who claims to understand hardship? Because this wasn't about need, it was about narrative. The Royal Lancaster wasn't just a place to sleep. It was a visual, a symbol, a backdrop that let Harry look like the globe-trotting philanthropist he used to be, not the Netflix renegade he's become. And the photos? Oh, they told the story Harry wanted. Shots of him emerging from polished doors, briefcase in hand, giving a wave to the press, like a royal businessman returning home to do good. But what those photos didn't show was the emptiness of it all. The staged crowds, the coordinated media alerts, the exclusive press access conveniently ignored any mention of who paid for what. There was a reason ITV and Hello magazine got the angles they did. They weren't there to investigate. They were there to cooperate. And Harry's team made sure the optics stayed pristine. But the British public, not so easily fooled. Online forums lit up with fury. "He's using charity money to cosplay as a prince," one commenter fumed. "How many young people could have actually benefited from that hotel budget?" asked another. The backlash was swift, and it was familiar. Because we've seen this strategy before. It's the same approach used for the infamous Spotify podcast deal. Big upfront optics, weak follow-through. It's the same blueprint behind Archewell, the Sussex's media foundation. Launch with headlines, fade out when scrutiny begins. And now it's happening again. A donation with no clear proof. A visit that looks royal but isn't. A luxury trip disguised as selfless work. Even palace insiders couldn't hide their disgust. He booked into a hotel like a visiting executive, one source told Shooter Scoop. He could have stayed with family. He didn't. That says everything. And it really does. Because Harry's hotel wasn't just a place to sleep. It was a line in the sand. A bold declaration that he's not returning as a son or a brother, but as an outsider. Orchestrating his return through optics, not connection. But even the best laid optics can't hide the truth forever, especially when the crowd's meant to greet you. Don't show up at all. The Sussex machine runs on three things: timing, imagery, and illusion. And Prince Harry's September return to the UK was a masterclass in all three. From the moment his luxury car pulled up in Nottingham to the second, his carefully prepared speech echoed across an empty street. Every second was orchestrated. The cameras were in place. The lighting was just right. And Harry's lines, written to the syllable, delivered with just the right mix of rehearsed passion and forced humility. But there was one thing missing: the people, not the press, not the handlers, not the invited guests, the crowd. Because when Harry returned to Nottingham, a city he once drew thousands to during the height of his popularity, this time, it was empty. Local outlet Nottingham Live said it best. In 2017, during his first post-engagement appearance with Meghan Markle, streets were flooded. People lined up for hours, waving flags, holding signs, screaming his name. This time, they posted a photo an hour before he arrived. It showed a completely deserted street. No fans, no buzz, no excitement. Just silence. This wasn't a triumphant return. It was a hollow performance. And yet, the mainstream coverage painted a different picture. ITV's Chris Shipp, long accused of being a Sussex sympathizer, crafted a narrative so glowing, it might as well have been written by Meghan's PR firm. Prince Harry didn't rush inside. He took his time. He chatted. He's so connected to this city. He's made a personal donation of 1.1 million disart. It was less journalism and more campaign speech. The footage, the interviews, the staging, it was a full-blown media operation. Hello, magazine even captured a moment where Harry poses for photographers, then immediately walks off once he sees they've got the shot. It was so blatant that Meghan even posted the clip to her Instagram story. But critics weren't impressed. Royal YouTuber P. Diner called it out for what it was: a made-for-camera moment. Not spontaneous, not authentic, just packaged. And that packaging didn't stop at the visuals. It bled into the entire structure of the visit. Harry gave a speech at a local recording studio where he announced, retroactively, that he had donated money back in December. Why not mention it then? Why wait 9 months, if not to use it as a centerpiece for this very trip? The studio was filled with staff, charity representatives, and a few well-placed celebrity supporters. But the moment he stepped outside, still no crowd. Just a few onlookers, a wall of cameras, and an uncomfortable silence. Even his brief interactions with children were riddled with cringe. At one point, he engaged in a balloon sword fight and appeared to botch a high five so badly that the child's mother looked visibly uncomfortable. Another moment had him telling a teenager, "You've got a brother? Does he drive you mad?" A not-so-subtle jab clearly meant for Prince William. When the boy said, No, we get on fine. Harry pushed. You go to the same school? That makes it harder, right? The kid didn't take the bait. But the audience watching at home, they heard it loud and clear. This was never about charity. This was never about youth engagement. This was about sending a message to William. And Meghan wasn't far behind in the messaging department. Though absent from the trip, she strategically posted that Hello magazine clip of Harry's photo op, complete with a pink heart emoji. It was subtle, but the timing was obvious. It was Meghan's digital thumbs up, or perhaps a sly jab inserted right into the media cycle. Supportive? Possibly. Calculated? Absolutely. Royal watchers couldn't agree on whether it was a sign of solidarity or silent sarcasm, but no one believed it was random. And here's the irony. All of this effort, all of the press choreography, the hotel staging, the strategic social media was meant to recreate a sense of royalty, to make Harry look like the prince of the people again. But the people didn't show up. The magic was gone, and no amount of camera angles or scripted charity lines could bring it back, because this wasn't a royal return. This was cosplay. He came in a motorcade. He gave a speech, he waved, he smiled, he acted, but no one clapped, no one cried, no one cared. And when that happens, you start calling in old tricks to spark new interest. Enter Meghan Markle's pink heart emoji and the Instagram shadow game that left everyone guessing. It was subtle, almost too subtle. A fleeting Instagram story, a video repost, a single pink heart emoji, no caption, no tag. Just a clip from Hello magazine showing Prince Harry's carefully staged interaction during his Nottingham visit. But in the world of Meghan Markle, where nothing is ever left to chance, that post spoke louder than any interview or press release. It wasn't just an act of support, it was a message. And the message was multi-layered, strategic, and possibly even laced with sarcasm. Let's back up. For months, Meghan had remained unusually silent. No public outings with Harry, no couple of photos, no interviews, no red carpet appearances. The Montecito duo had all but vanished as a brand. In fact, royal watchers noted something chilling. Every recent image of Harry and Meghan together had been old. Dated press photos, archived snapshots, not one candid or recent video of the couple appeared all summer long. And then, just as Harry embarks on this carefully crafted UK charity tour, boom, Meghan suddenly reappears, digitally, quietly, but unmistakably. She didn't post a new image of herself. She didn't release a statement. She didn't mention the tour. Instead, she shared a paparazzi video, one that shows Harry briefly engaging with children for the cameras, before walking away the moment he's sure the photographers got their shot. It's a clip that feels awkward, staged, the type of clip you wouldn't expect someone to highlight if they were trying to protect Harry's image. And yet Meghan chose that one. She didn't add a heart-eyed emoji, no proud wife caption, just a lonely pink heart, floating there in silence. It wasn't love, it wasn't unity, it was optics. Some fans took it as affection. She's showing support from afar. Others weren't so sure. Royal commentators like P. Diner called it a dig in disguise. She posted that knowing exactly how it looked, he said. That wasn't a supportive wife moment. That was a reminder. I'm still in control of the narrative. Because, let's be honest, Meghan Markle isn't known for random gestures. Every public move she makes is calculated, timed, and often tied to her broader brand. When she's silent, it's intentional. When she reappears, it's strategic. And to post this clip on this day, while this media cycle was running, that's not a coincidence. That's diplomacy, emoji diplomacy. And when you dig deeper, the contradictions start to pile up. Meghan had reportedly been unhappy about Harry's 1.1 million donation. According to multiple sources, she viewed it as bad business. She didn't want their dwindling financial resources spent on what she allegedly called UK photo ops. So to see her publicly signal support for that very same tour raised a key question. Was she being supportive or sarcastic? Let's not forget, this is the same Meghan who once compared royal life to a prison, who has publicly accused the monarchy of racism, neglect, and silencing her. The same Meghan who hasn't stepped foot in the UK since the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, and made it very clear that she has no interest in returning to Britain unless it's for her brand, her terms, her platform. So why this sudden flicker of approval? Because Meghan knows one thing better than anyone: how to hijack a headline without being in the headline. And that pink heart, minimalist, elegant, mysterious, was a way to embed herself back into the royal discourse without ever stepping on UK soil. She became part of the Harry storyline again, without a single quote, press release, or paparazzi chase. It was the ultimate low-effort, high-impact move. And the timing was brilliant. Right as critics were roasting Harry for using charity money to stay in a luxury hotel, right as social media was ablaze with memes comparing his 2017 crowds to this year's ghost town, Meghan's pink heart shifted the focus. Suddenly, people weren't just talking about Harry's awkward photo ops. They were wondering what Meghan meant. Was she being passive-aggressive, Was she throwing Harry under the bus? Was she trying to reassert control over his narrative? Or was she testing the waters, seeing if she could slip back into the spotlight without inviting another wave of backlash? Even her most loyal defenders didn't know how to read it. But that's the genius of emoji diplomacy. It's slippery, vague, open to interpretation. And in Meghan's world, that's exactly where she thrives, in the gray area between meaning and mystery. But if this pink heart was a silent signal, then what came next was deafening. Because when Meghan posts a breadcrumb, the media eats the whole loaf. Commentary exploded. YouTube videos dissected every frame. Reddit threads speculated about hidden messages. Even tabloids that had gone quiet on the Sussexes suddenly had a reason to talk. And maybe that was the whole point. Because while Meghan pretends to play the background, she's always somewhere nearby, lurking just beneath the algorithm, pulling the strings, leaving just enough behind to stay relevant without getting scorched by the heat of public scrutiny. Harry may be the one giving speeches, waving at cameras, and pretending to be a prince again. But Meghan? She's still controlling the narrative, one pink heart at a time. And yet, behind the heart emojis and media fog, another problem lingered. Harry's new circle of celebrity support was more embarrassing than elite. There was a time when Prince Harry's proximity to fame felt inevitable. World leaders, A-list actors, chart-topping artists. When you're a working royal, global icons orbit you naturally. He didn't need to chase clout. He was clout. But those days are gone. And the proof? It wasn't just in the empty streets or the stiff charity speech, it was in the company he kept. Because while the media tried to spin Harry's latest UK trip as a dignified return to form, royal watchers couldn't help but notice the glaring downgrade in star power. This time around, Harry wasn't flanked by global changemakers or cultural heavyweights. He wasn't walking red carpets with the likes of Beyoncé or George Clooney. Instead, his entourage looked more like the cast of a 2008 reality show rerun. Enter Kimberly Walsh and Peter Andre. If those names don't immediately ring a bell, you're not alone. Kimberly Walsh is a former member of Girls Aloud, a UK pop group that peaked 2 decades ago. Peter Andre, a one-hit wonder, best known for his 1996 track, Mysterious Girl, and for marrying and divorcing Katie Price in a flurry of tabloid chaos. Hardly the level of talent you'd expect to see at a major royal-adjacent charity event. And yet, there they were, grinning for the cameras, posing with Harry, and thanking him for the invitation. Kimberly even posted, "Thank you, Prince Harry and Wildchild, for inviting me to present an award." The message was polite, sincere even, but it hit different when juxtaposed with the Sussexes' supposed mission to change the world through global impact partnerships. Because if this was an impact, it was landing somewhere between embarrassing and irrelevant. Z-list by association. That's where Harry now finds himself. The harsh truth is, the celebrity ecosystem is brutally honest. When you're hot, the A-listers flock. When you're fading, you're left clinging to whoever will show up for the photo op. And Harry, once one of the most recognizable and respected figures in the world, has become a kind of floating social relic, attached to fame by title but no longer by influence. Even worse, these appearances didn't elevate Harry, they diminished him. In every photo, he looked slightly out of place. His smile, strained, his eyes, tired, the energy, off. It didn't feel like a man returning to purpose. It felt like someone performing relevance, hoping the public wouldn't notice the downgrade. But the internet noticed. The meme machine wasted no time. One viral tweet read, "Harry used to hang out with Obama. Now it's Peter Andre and balloon swords," another added. From royal engagements to Girls Aloud nostalgia gigs. How far the prince has fallen. Even royal insiders couldn't spin this one. As royal commentator Lauren Lanfero bluntly observed, "If anyone wants to know how leaving the royal family worked out for Harry, just look who he's posing with now." The optics were brutal, and the symbolism ran deep. Because for Harry, this trip was supposed to be a redemption arc, a public relations reset, a return to substance after months of Montecito silence. But instead of aligning with institutions or icons, he ended up standing among fading stars, trying to ignite a spark with people whose own fame is as fragile as his. And make no mistake, this isn't about shaming D-listers. It's about recognizing the message being broadcast. Harry's access to meaningful influence is shrinking, fast. He's not the magnetic force he once was. He's no longer the prince the world rushes to see. He's becoming a background character in his own comeback. Even the coverage from Hello magazine, once eager to elevate the Sussexes, couldn't hide the reality. The footage was limited, the interviews are generic, and the reaction online, tepid at best. There was no buzz, no viral moment, no splashy headlines about Harry stealing the spotlight. Just another scheduled appearance, another vague donation, another weird celebrity cameo that left everyone wondering, where are the real supporters? Because if Harry truly commands global respect, why weren't they there? Why didn't any of his A-list friends show up? Where was Ellen? Where was Tyler Perry? Where were the Obamas, the Hollywood execs, the Netflix producers, the media moguls he and Meghan claim to have in their inner circle. Silence, distance, absence. And maybe that's the real story. Because you can buy a hotel suite, you can buy security, you can even buy headlines if the outlet's friendly enough. But you can't buy loyalty, and you can't fake a crowd that's not there. Harry's celebrity tier has shifted, and not by accident. This is what happens when you burn bridges faster than you build them. When you monetize trauma, air family secrets, and then expect the same stage you once walked to still be waiting. It's not. That stage has moved on. And perhaps most ironic of all, as Harry clung to his dwindling Rolodex of low-wattage fame, the royals he left behind were quietly doing what he once did best, showing up, supporting causes, commanding attention. No flash, no pink hearts, just purpose. But while Harry posed with yesterday's stars, another narrative machine was humming at full speed behind the scenes. Because if the celebrity tier's been downgraded, the media support system is still working overtime. Enter Chris Ship and the ITV propaganda machine. In any royal crisis, there are two battles, one on the ground and one in the headlines. And while Prince Harry's UK return may have fizzled in real life, empty streets, low-tier celebrities, recycled donation claims, the media narrative told a very different story. At the center of that narrative stood one familiar figure, Chris Ship, ITV's royal editor, and as critics now call him, the Sussex's most reliable PR amplifier. Chris Ship isn't new to controversy. He's been accused before of skewing coverage in favor of Harry and Meghan, presenting their side of the story with a degree of polish that even the couple's official team struggles to match. But this time, it was so obvious, so absurdly staged, it bordered on parody. Let's look at the facts. As Harry arrived in Nottingham for his charity tour, Ship and his ITV crew were front and center, not as neutral observers, but as narrative gatekeepers. His report featured slick montages, dramatic narration, and cherry-picked interviews with supporters, including, bizarrely, a woman wearing a Team Harry t-shirt. Where did she come from? Was she a plant? Paid? Just remarkably well-timed? Ship didn't say. He just happened to find the one person in the crowd. What little crowd there was, wearing merch straight out of Meghan and Harry's old Netflix wardrobe. Then came the delivery. Ship's voiceover gushed with reverence. Prince Harry didn't rush inside. He took his time, he chatted, he smiled. He's committed to Nottingham. He has deep ties to this city. He made a personal donation of 1.1 million. On paper, it sounded noble. But those paying attention could see the sleight of hand. Words like personal were used without evidence. Phrases like committed to this city rang hollow when Harry hadn't set foot in Nottingham for years. And Ship conveniently omitted the most damning details. The luxury hotel was paid for by charity money. The recycled nature of the donation. The lack of crowd presence. The absence of any family support. And the strategic timing of the announcement, 9 months after the actual donation supposedly happened. It wasn't journalism. It was public relations. And Ship wasn't alone. Hello! Magazine, known for its glowing Sussex coverage, also dropped a soft-focus video montage. It highlighted Harry smiling with children, delivering speeches, and interacting with staff. But again, left out the fact that Meghan posted the clip with a pink heart emoji, subtly undercutting the sincerity of the moment. No mention of the awkward walk-off once the cameras got their shot. No analysis of the optics, just a curated narrative of Harry the healer, Prince of Purpose, come home to inspire the nation. But the propaganda didn't stop there. Even the speech Harry gave, where he proudly announced his donation, was elevated into a moment of faux statesmanship. Clips circulated on social media, showing him speaking with conviction about knife crime, youth empowerment, and deep commitment to community. But insiders were quick to point out that Harry hadn't done any sustained work in Nottingham in years. His last visit was back in 2018. He'd skipped anniversaries, missed events, broken promises. And now, conveniently, he was back, just as his PR image in the UK had cratered. But if ITV's job was to amplify the myth, independent voices were busy tearing it down. YouTubers like P. Diner and commentators like Dan Wooten exposed the farce with surgical precision. They juxtaposed Ship's gushing coverage with hard reality. Crowd comparison photos showing empty streets. Video of Harry awkwardly trying to make jokes about sibling rivalry to a sick child. Meghan's social media stunt, and of course the luxury hotel scandal. Even more damning, not a single mainstream outlet dug into the financials behind Harry's donation. No one asked for receipts. No journalist investigated whether the 1.1 million had actually been transferred. Was it pledged? Was it filtered through Archewell? Was it matched funding from somewhere else? Silence. And the timing? No one questioned why Harry waited until this very visit to announce something that allegedly happened last December. Except, of course, for the critics, who saw it for exactly what it was, a reputation laundering operation. And then came the line that turned stomachs. In one moment of his coverage, Chris Ship declared, "He's not switched up on us. He's just kept it real." Let that sink in. After 6 years of multi-million-dollar media deals trashing the royal family, after allegations of lies, manipulation, and leaked stories, after ghost-written memoirs and Netflix bombs, Chris Shipp wanted us to believe that Harry has kept it real. That wasn't journalism. That was fan fiction. Even viewers who had once sympathized with Harry were left shaking their heads. This wasn't a comeback. It was a rehab tour, orchestrated with military precision, camouflaged under the banner of charity, and served to the public with a side of media complicity. Because that's how propaganda works. It's not about what's true. It's about what sticks. Say 1.1 million donation enough times, and people forget to ask where it came from. Show Harry smiling with a child, and people forget he just insulted his brother in the same breath. Airsoft focus interviews, and people forget that the King and Prince William deliberately stayed away. The propaganda machine doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be louder than the truth. But when you're this loud, this staged, and this transparent, sooner or later, someone starts asking questions about the money. And those questions, they're about to explode because no one seems to know where that 1 million actually came from, or if it ever existed. At the heart of Prince Harry's UK return was a number, 1.1 million. It was repeated in headlines, echoed in speeches, and splashed across social media graphics. The message was simple and powerful. Harry, the misunderstood prince, was putting his money where his mouth was, giving back, healing wounds, doing something real for Britain's youth. But like so much of the Sussex PR strategy, that shiny headline started to rust the moment people looked deeper. Because as the media ran wild with praise, the question no one seemed willing to ask was the most obvious one. Where did the money come from? Not how much, not where it went, but literally, who paid for it and when? Let's start with the timing. According to Harry, this significant investment into British youth programs was made back in December. Yet for 9 whole months, there was no press release, no social media post, no Archewell blog update, nothing from BBC Children in Need, who reportedly acted as intermediaries. Not a peep. Then suddenly, during a high-profile return to the UK, with media cameras rolling and charity optics on full display, Harry decides it's the right time to talk about it? Why not in January when those programs needed post-holiday funding? Why not during the coronation season, when positive royal headlines were few and far between? Why now? Because the donation itself may not be what it seems. Let's explore the possibilities. 1. The matched funding shell game. In Harry's speech, he subtly slipped in a phrase that most people missed. I made that commitment through or via BBC Children in Need. And thanks to their match funding and leveraging, this will deliver an extra $300,000 worth of impact. That wording matters. Match funding often means that a donation triggers corporate or institutional partners to contribute as well. That's not unusual, but it also opens the door to reframing the scale of the donation. Was Harry's personal contribution actually 1.1 million? Or was that the total value after additional partners joined in? Did he contribute a fraction, say 200,000, and let the charities stack the rest? No receipts, no tax filings, no third-party verification, just vibes. And even more telling, there's no breakdown of what programs will receive that money. Which charities? Which youth centers? Is it a general donation or tied to PR partnerships? No answers. 2. Is it a pledge or a payment? This is where things get trickier. As royal critics have pointed out, there's a difference between donating and pledging. A donation is a completed transaction. A pledge is a promise, often conditional, sometimes indefinite, and legally meaningless if not backed by a contract. In the Sussex world, pledging has become a pattern. Meghan's Archetypes podcast, The Invictus Games, and Netflix production commitments, all full of ambitious pledges that rarely materialize in full. So again, where's the proof? Did Harry transfer $1.1 million from his personal account? Did Archewell write a check? Or was this just a verbal promise presented as a completed deed? One royal watcher put it bluntly, if Harry's got the cash to drop 1.1 million, why is his charity paying for his hotel stay? Exactly. 3. Meghan's alleged disapproval. Adding another layer of doubt is the growing speculation that Meghan didn't even approve the donation. According to sources close to the couple's financial team, Meghan has been increasingly strict about where the money goes. With Spotify canceled, Netflix under-delivering, and their brand losing market value by the week, every dollar counts in Montecito. As one insider told the Royal News Network, I imagine she wouldn't be too pleased to see that money go to charity and not Cartier. Brutal, but believable. Because from a financial strategy standpoint, Meghan has always approached philanthropy as branding. She knows the value of timing, photo ops, and partnerships. She also knows that giving away over £1 million without a monetizable return is a PR move she'd likely veto, especially when Harry's public image is costing them more than it's earning them. Which begs the question, did Harry go rogue? Or was this donation just a carefully crafted illusion meant to win back British sympathy? 4. The Spare and Netflix problem. There's also the uncomfortable possibility that some, or all, of the funds may have been indirectly sourced from past controversies. Think about it. Harry made millions from Spare, a memoir that attacked his family. His Netflix docuseries did the same. If the money donated was earned from those projects, then this becomes a story of laundering image through charity. Imagine it. Trash your family. Cash the check. Donate some of the money to British causes. Re-enter the UK with press coverage praising your generosity. To many, that doesn't sound noble. It sounds calculated, a guilt tax disguised as charity. Even Tom Sykes, writing in the Royalist Substack, hinted at the controversy. Some of the money could arguably be traced to the proceeds from his memoir Spare and his Netflix series, which sought to inflict damage on his family. If true, this donation wasn't just a PR stunt. It was a moral contradiction. A full-circle media loop where Harry profits from royal trauma, then tries to scrub it clean with a press-ready check. F5. The Queen's warning, ignored. But perhaps the most damning layer of all is how this entire stunt flies in the face of Queen Elizabeth II's final directive. Back in 2020, during the Sandringham summit that decided Harry and Meghan's exit terms, Her Majesty made one thing crystal clear. There can be no half in, half out. A royal cannot simultaneously monetize their status and perform official duties. And yet here was Harry, back in the UK, delivering speeches, representing causes he once fronted as a working royal, and positioning himself as a philanthropic prince. While running private commercial ventures from California, he did exactly what his grandmother warned against. And if the donation truly came from his money earned from Netflix, Spotify, and memoir deals, then he just turned British youth charities into branding collateral for a Sussex image restoration tour. So, where did the money come from? If it's personal, where are the receipts? If it's Archewell's, why are donors funding Harry's PR? If it's matched funding, why take credit for the total? If it's pledged, why present it as completed? And if it's just another illusion, why is no one holding him accountable? Because charity, when used as performance, ceases to be charity. It becomes propaganda. And when that propaganda runs on the fumes of broken royal promises, media manipulation, and financial smokescreens, you're left with one damning conclusion. This wasn't a donation. It was a transaction. One paid in headlines, not help. And the one person who would have never approved this? The late Queen Elizabeth herself. Because what Harry is doing now is exactly what she fought to prevent. There are many ways to break royal protocol. Some do it with scandal, others with silence. But Prince Harry? He's done it with something far more insidious. Performative philanthropy dressed as duty, cloaked in the illusion of royal responsibility, all while cashing commercial checks in Montecito. And no one, absolutely no one, would have been more alarmed by this contradiction than his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II. Because when she drew the line in 2020, she didn't whisper it, she etched it in stone. There can be no half in, half out. That was the Queen's final verdict during the infamous Sandringham summit, the emergency meeting where the future of Harry and Meghan's royal roles was decided behind palace walls. She didn't sugarcoat it. She didn't bend the rules to accommodate California dreams or Netflix fantasies. Her message was simple. You're either a working royal or you're not. And yet, 5 years later, Harry is doing exactly what she forbade. Let's break it down. He's no longer a working royal. He left. He wanted freedom, independence, the chance to work to become financially self-sufficient. Those were his words in the initial Sussex statement. And yet, here he is, standing on British soil, using his old royal causes, his old royal image, his old royal voice, to sell a new story. A story that benefits no one more than himself. Because this comeback wasn't sanctioned by the Crown. It wasn't coordinated with King Charles. It wasn't even acknowledged by Prince William. And it certainly wasn't supported by the institution that once shielded him. It was a rogue mission, designed to look official, timed with William's public appearances, filled with imagery meant to evoke a royal tour, complete with paparazzi shots, children's charities, and choreographed photo ops. This was royal cosplay. And Harry knew exactly what he was doing. Worse still, he chose to stage part of this PR campaign on sacred ground, St. George's Chapel in Windsor, where he laid a wreath on the 3rd anniversary of the Queen's death. No family joined him. No senior royals acknowledged it. It wasn't on the official calendar. But there he was, alone, dramatic, and, once again, filmed. What should have been a private act of remembrance became a carefully timed press moment, a soft attempt to cloak his re-entry in solemnity. But for many Britons, it was beyond disrespectful. It was offensive. Why? Because this is the same grandson who spent the last 3 years publicly dragging the institution his grandmother devoted her entire life to protecting. The same grandson who turned her final years into a tabloid war zone, dropped Spare with salacious royal gossip, and allowed Netflix cameras to dissect palace drama while she was still alive. And now he wants to pay tribute? It rang hollow. It reeked of damage control. And commentators didn't hold back. Royal columnist Tom Sykes put it plainly. The sight of Harry honoring Elizabeth's legacy was jarring. Here was a grandson who, in her final years, undermined for financial gain the institution she spent her life protecting. The timing made it worse. He laid the wreath just hours before announcing his $1.1 million donation, a stunt riddled with doubts, questionable funding sources, and suspicious timing. It wasn't a tribute. It was a symbolic smokescreen, designed to distract from the transactional nature of his visit. But the Queen would have seen through it. This is a monarch who lived by duty, who held power through silence, not spectacle, who served for 70 years without ever giving a tell-all. She understood the gravity of being royal. She also understood the risk of turning royalty into a brand. That's why she shut the door on the half-in, half-out model. Because she knew it was a slippery slope, one that would cheapen the crown, erode the trust of the public, and invite opportunists to monetize duty without carrying its burdens. And now, that fear has come true. Harry is treating royalty like a business, wearing the title like a costume, turning legacy into leverage. He's not attending state functions or quietly supporting national charities. He's launching PR stunts backed by questionable donations, vague timelines, and just enough royal imagery to fool the casual viewer. But the Queen was never a casual observer. She was meticulous, measured, and she would have been appalled. Because at its core, what Harry is doing isn't just about breaking protocol. It's about breaking trust. He's erasing the boundaries she fought to protect. And in doing so, he's not just disrespecting her memory, he's undermining it. Even more damning, he knows exactly what he's doing. Everything about this visit was crafted to look just royal enough. The black SUV motorcade, the strategic media access, smiling with children, the somber visit to Windsor, the matching speech cadences and recycled lines about believing in the youth. It's method acting royalty, and it's deliberate. But here's the twist. By violating the very rule the Queen died defending, Harry may have guaranteed his permanent exile from the royal fold. Because if there's one person who still takes her warnings seriously, it's Prince William. And William, unlike his father, isn't interested in bending over backwards for PR reconciliation. So while Harry walks red carpets with Z-listers and waves from hotel doorways, the real monarchy is moving on, quietly, consistently, just as the Queen intended. And perhaps the most haunting part of all, the very woman who loved him most, who once protected him from scandal and press intrusion, is now being used as a prop in his redemption arc, a woman of duty, repurposed for image repair. If Queen Elizabeth could speak from beyond, perhaps she'd say it clearly, one more time. There can be no half in, half out. And yet here, Harry stands, half royal, half rogue, and fully committed to a path his grandmother explicitly rejected. And as he crosses lines the Queen drew in stone, he's making a mockery of more than legacy. He's turning grief into branding and brotherhood into bait. Because what came next was a jab so petty, so tone-deaf, it left even his supporters stunned. For a man who once wore a military uniform with honor, who stood shoulder to shoulder with his brother at their mother's funeral, and who spent years championing veterans, mental health, and dignity in service, Prince Harry's recent behavior was nothing short of astonishing. Because somewhere between the luxury hotel, the media manipulation, and the suspicious donation announcement, Harry found time for a moment that exposed the childishness still simmering beneath the surface. A moment that, once again, dragged Prince William into the spotlight by association. It happened at the Wellchild Awards, a long-standing charity event Harry has attended for years. This should have been a feel-good moment, a safe space, a place where children battling serious illnesses are honored, where their families are celebrated, and where the focus should never be on royal drama. But of course Harry couldn't help himself. In a conversation with Declan Bitme, a brave 17-year-old battling severe health conditions, Harry's attempt at humor quickly turned into what many saw as a not-so-subtle swipe at William. "Have you got a brother?" Harry asked. "Yes," Declan replied. "Does he drive you mad?" Harry pressed. "No, we get on fine," the teen answered. "You're at the same school? That sometimes makes it more challenging," Harry added, fishing for tension that simply wasn't there. It was awkward, transparent, and frankly, immature. This wasn't a harmless icebreaker. This was a 39-year-old man on a high-stakes PR tour, using a vulnerable child as a sounding board for personal bitterness. The moment screamed insecurity. It wasn't clever, it wasn't subtle, it was an emotional slip, caught on camera, that laid bare how deeply Harry's obsession with his brother still runs. The timing made it worse. William had been noticeably absent during Harry's visit. No meetings, no statements. Not even a token show of unity. Harry knew the press would latch onto their continued estrangement. So he did what he often does when cornered. He made it someone else's fault. And this time, he did it in front of a dying teenager. Critics were furious. Viewers called it manipulative, tone-deaf, and even exploitative. Why weaponize a child's story to score a point against your brother? one tweet read. He's supposed to be there for the kids, not using them as therapy sessions. But that wasn't the only moment that raised eyebrows. Earlier in the event, Harry joined in what should have been a lighthearted interaction, a balloon sword fight with a young girl. At first, it seemed charming, playful, harmless, but the clip quickly turned bizarre. As the pretend duel ended, Harry went in for what looked like a high five, then paused, then bowed slightly, then awkwardly turned to the child's mother, who didn't look impressed in the slightest. The whole thing felt forced, rehearsed, and uncomfortable. It wasn't just awkward body language. It was the deeper issue. Harry doesn't know how to act without cameras anymore. His interactions with children used to feel warm, spontaneous, and even endearing. Now, they're filtered through the lens of how they'll play in the next media cycle. The smiles look strained. The movements are performative, like he's trying to remember what the old Harry would do, and it's just not landing. Even Meghan, oddly enough, seemed to understand how artificial the moment looked. Because of all the clips she could have shared from the visit, she chose that one, the awkward sword fight, the staged camera moment, the instant where Harry looks most like a man trying to be relatable, but comes across as embarrassingly disconnected. She posted it to Instagram with a single pink heart emoji. Was it support or a sly dig? The internet couldn't decide, but the ambiguity only added fuel to the fire. Then came the deeper emotional undercurrent. This wasn't just about awkwardness. This was about Harry's inability to let go of his feud with William, even in the most inappropriate settings. Instead of using the well-child stage to highlight the bravery of these children, to elevate their families, or to reflect on his past involvement with the charity, he found a way to make it about himself. And that's the tragedy of Harry's public persona today. It's always about him, his trauma, his isolation, his rejection, his redemption arc. But when your need to be seen eclipses the people you claim to serve, you've lost the plot. Royal commentator Dan Wooten summed it up perfectly. Harry used to be the most likable royal. Now every appearance feels like an audition for sympathy. Even staunch defenders couldn't explain the well-child incident away. It wasn't just a misstep. It was a window into the regression Harry has undergone since leaving royal life. A man who once bristled with charisma, confidence, and clarity now comes off as scattered, juvenile, and perpetually locked in sibling rivalry. And let's not forget, William remained silent. He didn't comment on Harry's visit. He didn't show up. He didn't take the bait. While Harry played the balloon sword and fumbled for jabs, William was elsewhere, quietly visiting a homeless project in London, fulfilling duties, doing what the monarchy does best, showing up without theatrics. The contrast couldn't be starker. One brother is using vulnerable children to stage a comeback. The other continues the work, without fanfare. And if the goal of this visit was to win back public favor, Harry's behavior at Wellchild may have done the opposite because people can forgive a bad decision. They can even overlook a bad Netflix documentary. But using a child to send a message to your brother, that's not a strategy. That's immaturity weaponized. It was a moment that said everything without needing a headline. And as Harry flailed in the spotlight, it became clearer than ever. This wasn't a royal return. This was a one-man performance. And the final act reeks of desperation. Because behind every sword, emoji, and forced smile is a prince running out of moves. Prince Harry's September return to the UK was sold as something noble. Reconciliation, redemption, a return to roots, a prince giving back to the country that raised him. But by the time the cameras packed up and the PR machines quieted, the truth was harder to ignore. This wasn't a royal homecoming. It was a brand management tour, a photo op-heavy, crowd-light, emotionally confused spectacle that raised more questions than it answered, and answered none of the ones that matter. Let's rewind the tape. He arrived alone, without Meghan, checking into a 1,500 a night hotel, paid for by his own charity, not a royal residence. Not a modest private apartment, a 5-star suite, all covered under the guise of official business. And what was the centerpiece of this business trip? A 1.1 million donation to British youth organizations was announced nearly 9 months after it allegedly happened, with no documentation, no breakdown, and no clear explanation of the funding source. Charity, but with all the transparency of a smoke-filled boardroom. Then came the press. ITV's Chris Shipp delivered breathless coverage that read more like a palace-approved statement than journalism. Hello, magazine rolled out its polished video edits. Harry's own Archewell team sat back while legacy media did the heavy lifting. All of it scripted to create a particular illusion. The prodigal prince returns. But the people weren't buying it, literally. The streets were empty. Local outlets published side-by-side photos. Harry's 2017 visit to Nottingham packed to the brim versus his 2025 return. Deserted. No crowds, no chaos, no emotional wave of support. Just cameras and carefully positioned supporters, including one mysteriously enthusiastic woman in a Team Harry shirt. It felt less like a royal tour and more like a brand activation for a forgotten influencer. Even Meghan's rare digital reappearance, a pink heart emoji over a clip of Harry's staged moment with kids, added to the sense of absurdity. Was it love? Irony? Sabotage? Whatever it wasn't normal. It was calculated, cold, strategic, and painfully out of touch. Then came the real tipping point: Harry's behavior at the Wellchild Awards. This should have been a moment of pure heart. Uplifting, human, unscripted. Instead, he used a sick teenager as a proxy for yet another thinly veiled jab at Prince William. "Does your brother drive you mad?" he asked, clearly fishing for a line that would make headlines. The boy, admirably, didn't take the bait, but Harry's intent was clear. He wasn't there to reconnect with the public. He was there to rewrite a narrative. One balloon sword fight, one awkward bow, one donation headline at a time. The only problem? No one's buying the fantasy anymore. His words don't match his actions. His brand doesn't match the moment. And his return didn't feel like a prince reclaiming his purpose. It felt like a faded celebrity staging a comeback in a country that's already moved on. Perhaps most heartbreaking is the shadow of Queen Elizabeth V, whose firm line, no half in, half out, was so boldly disrespected in this trip. Her vision for the monarchy was built on clarity, consistency, and quiet service. Harry's vision? Cameras, contradictions, and carefully timed gestures designed to recapture what he willingly walked away from. And while some may argue this was an olive branch, a signal of goodwill, the reality is far more cynical. Harry didn't come to Britain to reconnect. He came to rehabilitate, not relationships, reputation. Because California hasn't worked out the way the Sussexes planned, Spotify dropped them, Netflix is cold, Archer's momentum has slowed, and Meghan, who once played the central role in every Sussex storyline, was conspicuously absent, save for a curated emoji and a few conveniently placed media whispers. The empire they tried to build in Hollywood is cracking, and now Harry is circling back to the place he abandoned, hoping to rekindle the magic. But magic doesn't work that way, especially not in Britain, especially not with the Windsor name. So what was this really? Not a royal tour, not a heartfelt mission, not a step toward reconciliation. It was a tacky American PR blitz dressed in the thin robes of royal nostalgia. It was a brand desperately clinging to relevance, wrapped in donation headlines, propped up by media allies, and insulated by the illusion that public opinion can be bought with a bow, a speech, and a check, especially one that may or may not exist. The monarchy doesn't operate like Silicon Valley. It doesn't run on hashtags, filters, or slogans. It runs on legacy. And that's something Harry seems to have forgotten, or worse, tried to repackage and sell. In the end, the most honest image from this entire trip wasn't the donation speech, the wreath laying, or the awkward Instagram repost. It was the empty streets of Nottingham, a haunting reminder that no matter how hard you try to curate the optics, you can't stage authenticity. And you can't fake your way back into a family you betrayed. So was this a royal return? No, this was a performance. A desperate, overproduced, underattended PR performance, and the UK, it didn't clap.